The first thing I would like to highlight, actually, when it comes to the creative industries, is that it is an industry, it is an economy. So while most of us think that we are here just to entertain the crowds, we're actually working, we are feeding our families, we are uplifting our communities. But all that can only be sustainable if we have 4 key pillars that we've been heavily investing in as the government of Rwanda. The first one, you mentioned the policies, so the enabling environment. You can only go as far as your system will be able to carry you. So when it comes to the creative industry, which can be very diverse, we know what we call the ones that are like very much in your face, that are very well known, the performing arts, but the creative industry is actually part of your everyday life. You may not even realize it, but it is carrying you through your job, through your nightly activities, through your tourism. So we need to create a system that represents the variety of people who work in this ecosystem. So with the enabling environment, we are talking about policies that really look at how things are being implemented on the ground. We are looking at the protection of intellectual property. That is, I believe, one of the key or most important element in the protection of the economic rights of the creatives, because without the intellectual property, without really understanding who owns what you have produced, then you find yourself in this never-ending cycle of always going to the same investor or the same source of funding, without understanding that once you really own what you produce, then the money is actually working for you, and then you're able to start generating wealth that will be even sustaining you and your future descendants. So the enabling environment is one element that we do need to take time to really sit down and understand. If we're talking about having the right economic support, what kind of policies allow you to do this type of activities even beyond the borders. And yesterday at the opening ceremony, we talked about again how is it that our continent still faces some serious issues when it comes to visa. Anybody who's here from the creative industry know about the challenge of the creatives when they have to go to another country to present their work. It's really never ending. The other element that I would like to come back on is the human capital development. Yes, you put in place the policies, you make sure that who owns the production is actually recognized as such, but at the end of the day, if your ecosystem is not invested in terms of capacity building, then again, you can only go as far without realizing that your work will be failing year after year. And by human capital development, we're looking at the entire chain of the creative industries. The talent is at the center of this ecosystem, but alone, it does not make the ecosystem. We need people who go with the creatives on a daily basis. So we're talking about the managers who understand how you can actually read a contract and not just go after your 10% and then don't worry about how the artist is actually going to be taken care of. We need the lawyers who also walk alongside the managers. We need the educators, because you need your talent is perhaps innate, it's in you, but it needs to be groomed, just like any other skill that you have around you. So what kind of conversation do we have to have with people in the education sector so they can actually invest in curriculum that reflects what is needed on the labor market? The other element, which was touched on in the panel that just preceded us, the infrastructure. We need places, and those can be physical or digital, where the work of our creatives can actually be presented, where it can be enjoyed, but done in a very professional manner. If I take the example of this conference room, for us to be able to have this type of infrastructure, it required a lot of skills. And that's why, again, I'm saying the creative economy is part of so many different lines of work, not just the entertainment, quote unquote. And when it comes to infrastructure, I believe we're also at a crossroad on the continent. How do we build infrastructure that puts forward our cultural assets? And by that, I mean, are we building infrastructure that allows an exhibition to come in, even if it's not a museum, for example? So it can be an office building, but it's built in such a way that as soon as you enter, you know you're in Rwanda, you know you're in Kenya, you know you're in Nigeria, for example. So where is the cultural identity when we build around us?
And I think, Minister,